What if better health decisions came from understanding what's really going on, not just doing more? Welcome to Sanando Juntos, Healing Together with Alma. I'm your host, Dr. Alma, pharmacist turned functional health coach. This podcast is for people who want clarity around their health without overwhelm, extremes, or quick fixes. Here we talk about the mental, spiritual, and physical foundations of functional health and how science, intuition, ancestral wisdom, and lived experiences all play a role in real life health decisions. My goal is to help you understand patterns, make sense of your symptoms, and feel more confident about what steps actually matter next. Grab your cafecito, your matcha, or whatever's fueling you today, and let's talk health. Salud. Before we bring on more episodes where we talk about labs, protocols, or what's trending in wellness, I want to lay this foundation that is crucial to this podcast and to my practice. Today, I want to honor the wisdom of those who came before us. Today's conversation is one rooted in gratitude for the people who lived, learned, healed, cooked, prayed, and survived long before we were twinkles in our parents' eyes. Our ancestors didn't have the language or the science that we use today, but they understood the body, its rhythms, and how it is deeply connected to the rhythms of the earth, how food is the medicine, how rest is a non negotiable, and how to heal in ways we are only now starting to remember and accept. Modern science is finally catching up to something our ancestors already knew. The body is so intelligent. Health is rhythmic, meaning it's in rhythms, and healing was never meant to be disconnected from culture, community, and daily life. Today, we're talking about ancestral wisdom, not as an alternative or a replacement to science, but like I said before, as a foundation for our reclamation of how to be and stay healthy. And before you click away or roll your eyes or start to think otra vez con sus cosas woo woo, and by the way, I'm making woo woo something positive from here on out. On this podcast, it's positive because woo woo works, okay? But before we begin, let's get clear on what I don't mean. We're not talking about going backwards in time because why? We're not talking about rejecting science because no. We're not talking about just drink this tea, mijita, and manifest your healing. I'm going to go on a little tangent here, but we've all heard that story of a curandera healing someone in the family with a certain remedio, and then they were all better. And I know you're nodding your head because I've heard those stories from a lot of people that I talk to when I mention holistic health. And these stories can't all be made up, right? I, for one, believe it because I believe in the power of the earth's resources to give us what we need. And we need that wisdom to know how to use this plant medicine and how to deliver these systems for healing. And we're losing that. This knowledge that was passed down by people who paid attention to the body, to the land, and to the human patterns over time. And even though it seems like this is a lost art, this is the part that still makes me smile. A lot of what we call modern medicine today started with plants. So, what we're talking about today is remembering how to live in your human body. Because before there was calorie tracking apps, tracking macros, lab portals, Aura rings, Whoop, or whatever the wearables are nowadays, humans had digestion, they had hormones, they still dealt with stress, grief, birth, illness, and healing, and somehow they survived. They adapted, they regulated, not because they were more advanced, but because they were more connected. And if you've been listening to the last few episodes, you already know this story. We talked about how modern medicine became the gold standard. We talked about how labs matter, but they're not the full story. We talked about how systems, food, stress, and access shape our health. If you missed any of those episodes, please go back as they are laying the foundation for the podcast and future episodes. So then the next question is, if this is how we got here, what did we forget along the way? One of the biggest changes we don't talk about enough is that healing used to be relational. And we talked about this a little bit in a previous episode, how now it's transactional, like we discussed. You didn't just show up somewhere, list symptoms, get a diagnosis, a fix, and then leave. Health started and happened in the home, in the kitchens, in the community. Food wasn't just fuel, it was nourishment. It was seasonal, it was shared, and it was prepared with intention. It was savored and enjoyed when it was eaten, not just scarfed down 5 minutes between meetings. And the elders weren't pushed to the side. They were front and center. They were the main sources of wisdom. Kids weren't scheduled down to the last minute. There was space for them to be kids. They moved, they played, they got dirty, they got bored and let their imaginations run wild, and then rested, all while in the community. And okay, yes, there was stress, and it was real, but it had rhythm and cycles most of the time. Times to work and times to rest. But now we try to regulate our nervous system with apps while ignoring the environments that keep us dysregulated in the first place. And here's something to remember or consider. We didn't stop taking care of our health because we're lazy. Life just got faster and much more stressful. In all that rushing, we forgot how to actually live in our bodies. We think that our health is something we have to quote unquote manage. But the reality is that health is embodied every day in the decisions that you make for it. And this is a good way to move into our next biggest loss. We stop trusting the body. Hunger used to mean eat. Fatigue used to mean rest. Pain used to mean pay attention. But now we override these signals, we push through, we power through, we normalize exhaustion, we label symptoms as inconveniences instead of information. I'll give you an example. When I was working in the pharmacy, this was in retail pharmacy with my nerves always on edge, and I had to go pee, I was actually annoyed with my body because I could not fathom stepping away for even 1 minute. And this is how bad it gets for some of us, especially in high pressure work environments. I say this as a pharmacist. I respect medicine. I believe in intervention when it's needed, but the body was never meant to be overridden. It was meant to be listened to be trusted. Trust that cycles matter, that sleep matters, that stress matters, hormonal shifts matter, especially for you, mujer. And now we live in a culture that says, just power through. It's hustle season. This is normal. It's just getting old. It's just life. Pero mientras, your body keeps whispering and whispering, hey, 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 we got a problem here. Pero you ignore it until you ignore it long enough that it just starts screaming at you. Then you have no choice but to pay attention. And I know you've all heard or seen this on social media somewhere, but it's true. If you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. Here's where it gets even harder because the body was never meant to carry all of this alone. Community used to be a health intervention. Meals were shared, child rearing was shared, grief was shared, joy was shared, loneliness wasn't normalized. And today, we're more connected digitally than ever, but more isolated in our bodies and from each other than we've ever been. Disconnection isn't just emotional, it's physiological. Physiological just means what's happening inside your body at a real physical level. It's a real physical reaction. Loneliness can turn into inflammation. Belonging affects your nervous system regulation and feeling safe. And then feeling safe affects digestion, hormones, and your immunity. So when we talk about chronic illness, we have to talk about disconnect from food, from rhythms, from each other, from ourselves, from our own bodies. So this is the balance I want to offer you today. This is not about rejecting modern life because, duh, we live in it. And it's also not about pretending that the past was perfect because it wasn't. What this really is about is bringing things back together. We don't throw out labs because they matter, but we also don't look at them in isolation. We put them in context of your big health picture. We don't reject medicine, we use it thoughtfully, with intention, when needed, alongside with the body's wisdom. And when you think of it, this is kind of an incredible moment in human history. We have more information, more data, more insight at our fingertips than ever before, and we're finally remembering the wisdom that existed long before it. We're standing at a moment where both worlds finally meet to marry science and ancestral wisdom in a way no generation before us could. This isn't about toughing it out or wearing struggle like a badge of honor. It's about helping the body feel safe, steady, and supported again. We're here to restore regulation, safety, and rhythms. Because the future of healing isn't ancient or modern, it's science and trusting your body, your intuition, and innate wisdom, that gift that your ancestors gave you, tapping into that. And that's where functional medicine lives, and that's where soul body lives, in that middle, in the bridge, in the remembering and honoring the wisdom we received from our ancestors. And I'll leave you with this thought. Our bodies haven't evolved as fast as our world. So, a lot of what we're seeing, the burnout, chronic illness, hormonal chaos, inflammation, it happens because there's a mismatch between our biology and our lifestyle, between nervous systems and societal or personal expectations. Ancestral wisdom isn't about the past, it's about remembering how to live in your body again. But you want to hear the good news if you're feeling more disconnected than ever? The body remembers. It carries incredible emotional memory. Yeah, it remembers the bad stuff, but most importantly, it has the capacity for healing. And that's powerful because it also remembers rhythm, it remembers safety, it remembers what nourishment feels like. Even if society forgets or makes you forget, even if you've been in survival mode for years, the body hasn't forgotten you. And once you start listening, you just can't unhear it. So trust it. If all of this sounds beautiful, but also a little woo woo, and remember, we're making it positive here, don't worry. Next time, we'll start bringing this into real life, into relationships, particularly mine, because next time my husband is joining me. And yes, we'll talk about our love story just in time for Valentine's Day. What a coinky dink. But we'll also talk about what it's looked like to build health and healing together in our family. This process lives in how we show up for ourselves and with the people we love. And when one person starts listening, it changes more than the numbers on a lab report. It changes the home, the relationships, and the rhythms of daily life. More importantly, it changes the trajectory of health in the family. And that's what we're doing here, sanando together. Thanks for spending this time with me on Sanando Juntos, Healing Together. I hope today's conversation helped you see your health a little more clearly and feel more grounded about where to go next. If this episode was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it too. That's how this community grows and how these conversations reach the people who need them. If you're ready for more personalized guidance, you'll find ways to work together and learn more in the show notes. Until next time, cuídate mucho, trust the process, and remember, we heal juntos siempre. Ciao, ciao, baby. But wait, there's more. The legal stuff. I gotta say it. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical care. I'm a pharmacist and a functional health coach, but I'm not your personal healthcare provider. Talk with your physician or qualified healthcare professional before making changes to medications, supplements, or your health routine. Take what resonates, move at your own pace, and make decisions that feel aligned for you.